Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have Katta Mapes joining us.
Yes.
But we just lost you. Hi, how are you? There you go.
Good.
Some technical issues, as always, right? That's okay. Take your time. Get ready. In the meantime, I could just introduce you while you do whatever it is you have to do. So, Katta Mapes joining us here, tonguethrust.com. We are joined here by Katta talking about the creating conscious connections. And she's from Tucson, Arizona, and we're excited to talk more about the work she's doing as a consultant, as a writer, as a teacher, and most importantly, as that intuitive life coach, right? Also, she has her real estate license too, so she's an agent as well in Arizona. So she's a woman that wears many hats. How are you today, sweetheart?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to this interview.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you back. So for those new timers, I know I gave a little introduction as to who you are, what you do. What else did you want to add to that before we play a little game of show and tell?
I just want to add counselor into the mix. I was a school counselor for about 35 years, a bilingual school counselor. So you can throw that into the mix, and all the things that I have done, I incorporate into my work as an intuitive life coach.
Amazing. And you're here helping people all over. How do we contact you?
You can contact me at this email address. Oh, is that backwards?
No, it's right.
Okay, katta.mapes@gmail.com.
Perfect. Let me spell that for them. It's katta.mapes@gmail.com. Awesome. So what did you have in mind for us today? What did you want to discuss about your work as a counselor, as an intuitive coach? I know you mentioned you had some show and tell that we're going to play here.
Well, last time I mentioned that I had published a curriculum called Stop, Think, Choose, Building Emotional Intelligence for young people. And I also mentioned that now in education, this area is considered something called social emotional learning. And I have the last few remaining copies of my book. They were sold on Amazon from the Chicago Review Press. So I wanted to show you what the book looks like.
Oh my goodness. Stop, Think, and Choose. Wow. Where do we find this book?
Well, you have to get it from me. You have to email me. And I also have some posters from an artist who was hired to make posters for the different sections of the book. I mentioned before that I kind of divided emotional intelligence into two areas, intrapersonal and interpersonal. So in the book and in the posters, I separated out for intrapersonal. We have emotional intelligence is knowing yourself and accepting yourself.
Emotional intelligence is accepting yourself. And if you're not on the Zoomcast, only the podcast, she's actually showing this, hence our show and tell session today. What's the next one you have for us?
And then emotional intelligence, the last part of the intrapersonal is managing yourself.
Okay.
Now we go into the interpersonal area of skills. And the first one is connecting with others, and then communicating with others, cooperating with others, and handling conflicts with others. All of these things are in my curriculum with skill building activities, not only for the counselors and teachers to use in the classroom, but in addition, I have a section on how to integrate social emotional learning into just about every content area, including math. So, for example, in the math section, for knowing yourself, some skills are assess your strengths and weaknesses in math, assess whether you suffer from math anxiety, use geometric shapes to show different feelings, and so forth. So in all of the different content, many of the content areas, there are suggestions on how to apply the information and the skills that are taught in the curriculum. And again, the curriculum is this book, Stop, Think, Choose, Building Emotional Intelligence in Young People.
Wait, well, hold on. When did you put the book together? What year?
It was published in 2000.
Wow.
But it's still very relevant right now.
That's a lot of work. And who did the illustrations? Beautiful.
They hired an artist named, her name was Sterling. Her last name was Sterling. I'm sorry, I don't remember her first name.
That's okay, but beautiful. I didn't know if you were an artist too. Go ahead, continue.
No, that's not my talent. So another part of the book, it has an appendix 1 where there's information on how to conduct class meetings, where people can, it's one thing to learn the skills and another to apply them. Mm-hmm. So it's important to have class meetings. And as an adjunct to that, I would always love to see where families learn the skills and learn how to do family meetings once a week, where people can talk about what they think and feel and what's going on with them and so forth. The final part of the book, again, which is only available from me because it's out of print, has an awareness sheet so that when a student misbehaves in some way, they need to process what happened. And some of the questions are, what happened, who said and did what did you think while this was happening, what did you feel while this was happening, and so forth. And finally, what could you have done differently in this situation? So it's a way, again, to apply the skills, because in the curriculum, Stop, Think, Choose, Building Emotional Intelligence with Young People, then you have to have a place to apply them. So again, that book is only available through me at katta.mapes@gmail.com. I still have about 20 copies left, and so anyone can contact me about that, and I'd be glad to send them off along with the poster set.
Wow.
Because then it goes up in the classroom and so forth.
Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations on this. And if someone wants to purchase the book from you, we reach out to that email address.
Yes.
And where do you have, and who, are these in schools? Where particular can we find these workbooks?
Well, these were available on Amazon and all over, so I don't know exactly who bought them. I was never involved in a study, but as a part of the curriculum, I do have a pre and a post self-assessment in each of the different 7 areas for students to look at things. For example, on the self-evaluation for accepting yourself, the pre-evaluation asks, how well do you accept yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? List 10 things like you like about yourself. And then the post-evaluation asks basically the same thing, so that there's an opportunity to evaluate how effective that lesson was in helping the students to be able to accept themselves, for example, which is one of the intrapersonal skills.
Wow. Wow. And this, like you mentioned, the publication was over 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. It's the same concept, the same skills that we're using to build our confidence and our leadership and everything today. So if you are just tuning in, again, this is called Creating Conscious Connections. And our friend here, Katta, Mapes, joining us. She's talking today as an education consultant, and she's helping schools. She's helping students, groups. You tell me, right?
Exactly. And there are certain lessons that are kind of my favorite ones in the whole book. And I am available to do them on Zoom into a classroom. I have done some of these activities even as early as preschool and kindergarten. So I can adapt them. The curriculum is basically made for grades 5 through 12, but I have adapted many of the lessons for students even earlier. So for a classroom or a homeschool situation where they would like me to, I would definitely give a free demonstration of one of the activities and discuss what other things they might like to have. In addition to the curriculum, I've also gone on and developed other lessons that are very helpful. And also, I would like to work with school counselors for any group counseling they do in a school setting, or even outside of a school setting. There are some group activities I've developed because as a counselor, I would do group counseling as well. And so I like to share those. I could share them on Zoom. I am also available to travel or do things in person if we can work out some arrangements for that. So they can contact me at katta.mapes@gmail.com.
Perfect. And we still have more time, obviously, to talk about this. And you mentioned intuitive arts and spiritual development. Let me ask, how do you bring this into life? And you also are a realtor. So are you like intuitive with the people you're meeting and in the process of buying and selling as well? Just curious.
Well, the way that I've kind of morphed all the past into the real estate, I went to a workshop once with a teacher, John Dyer, here in Tucson. He was actually in Phoenix. And he talked about being an emotional support agent. So my business card says, "Let me be your emotional support agent," because buying and selling homes can be very stressful. And there's so many emotional facets to it. So I, as a counselor and life coach and so forth, can help guide someone in the process of buying and selling, although I am more a listing agent than a buyer's agent at this time.
Got it. Well, thank you for sharing that. And also, just a little of your background, if you don't mind, because I know you've been in this business for many years, have many publications, and you also had that hands-on experience and still do, right, as a counselor. Are you currently working with students in a school? Because you were doing K.
No, I'm not. No, I'm retired.
Okay.
And I would love to work with students of all ages. However, I don't want to work full time. So I'm not. I'm 75. I'm not ready to go back to a full time position in a school. I would much rather work as a consultant in the area of social emotional learning.
Got
to
it.
help. That it could be groups, youth groups, classes, homeschooling groups, and so forth.
Oh, well,
I would love to be able to have an opportunity to share what I see as my experience and wisdom.
Oh, well, I love it. And I love that you're making ground here. You're doing your shows. And, I just really still want to promote this book. And it's fascinating. Do you ever plan on making a follow-up to it at all?
I have thought about doing an update. There's so much out there with social emotional learning. Mm-hmm. And typically, the programs that schools often buy are research-based through a university. Yep. Where they have aligned with someone maybe doing their master's or doctoral work. And so school districts, large school districts, are more likely to call on these programs. I'm kind of like small potatoes, but I bring a lot of experience and wisdom into what I do. The other part of that is to work with administrators and school to create school culture where everybody also learns some very basic skills and then applies them with each other and with the students. When I was a counselor at an elementary school, for example, I would work with the monitors who were in the hall and the playground. And after I had given lessons, for example, to the students about using iMessages, I feel, I think, I need, I want, to ask the monitors when there's a problem to help them go through a process and help the students to be able to communicate. Also, I kind of get on my soapbox sometimes about social emotional learning, which isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
Some math teachers, some other teachers, like they don't want to have anything to do with that touchy-feely stuff. Yeah. But in a school culture, you can't teach social emotional learning to a classroom and then you go next door and yell at the teacher next door because you're having problems. So there has to be a commitment actually from the top down, from the administration, to create a comprehensive whole school culture that fosters the social emotional learning.
And I know you would love to present this. Maybe if someone's listening to, at a school, right? There could be, low cost of schools, and to help. Is there a way that you're connected with a lot of different, schools across the country at this point? Because you could do this in English or in Spanish too. You said, right?
Right. Yes, I am bilingual. Not at this time, but I would even fly out of the country to Spanish-speaking countries, because I lived in Colombia for a while and I've traveled
Wow.
traveled around the world. So I would be available para hacerlo en cualquier país donde hablan español.
See, look at this. Amazing. And currently wow. And what else did you want to share about the workbook with our listeners here today before we continue?
I think, as I said, this is a compendium of my years of experience. And there are some very strongly effective lessons. And I will say, for example, at one point, I was a bilingual clinician at a shelter for unaccompanied minors who came up from Guatemala and El Salvador and Honduras and other places. And I would do these lessons with them. And one of the most significant, I think, lesson that I have is about peer pressure.
Yeah.
I give out a sheet that goes through a whole list of types of ways that people manipulate, from crying, getting angry, bribing, blackmail, the whole gamut of things. And then I do a little demonstration with a student, and I pretend I really want to go see Cinderella or some demo I want to see. So I ask them to do it, and I try all these different mechanisms, and then the students have to guess which one I'm applying. And they usually do very well. They're really pretty aware. And so the other part of that is, okay, someone is manipulating you to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? So there are different ways to say no. But one of the classic classroom situations was when I was presenting to some students from, they were from all the Central American countries. And I said, for example, and these were teenagers, and I said, what if your boyfriend says, well, if you really love me, you will whatever. The comeback to that is to say, well, if you really love me, you won't pressure me to do something I don't want to do. And I just remember the girls in that class, their eyes just lit up like, really? We can say that? Aww. So part of that is coming up with comebacks, for bullying and for teasing and that sort of thing.
Beautiful.
One of the classic comebacks that, like there was another school I was visiting and presenting to, and one of the girls was being bullied about, I don't know, something about the way she looked or something. So I really like this comeback. Get back to me when you're perfect. Because everybody has something. So get back to me when you're perfect, and they have to stop and think, oh, okay, maybe there's something wrong with me too.
No. Oh, my goodness.
All of this is part of the skill building, having ways to deal with life and, handling conflicts, communicating, and everything.
Beautiful. Well, I love that you're so passionate about helping schools, helping students, and clearly you have learned a lot about the system working in there. And now you're also doing volunteering as well, right?
Well, I'm volunteering right now with adults.
Oh, okay.
Not with students.
Oh, tell me.
Well, I live in a 55-plus community.
Okay.
So.
Oh, I was talking about the goodwill impact, but is that for the...
Okay. Goodwill, I offered to help them, and they didn't take me up on it, I think, because they have certain regulations about how they have to do things and what they can do. I did offer to volunteer there at the local one in Tucson, where they have a youth impact.
Got it.
So.
Well, great. And you also mentioned, now anything, are you working with your community here as well? You mentioned where you're living. Do you speak there? Do you do any sessions as well?
I have.
Because we still need to build emotional intelligence even in older people, right?
Well, if we never learn the skills, and that reminds me, I remember being in one class presenting the skills, and the teacher and the teacher aide came up to me later and said, "I wish I would have known that when I was a kid."
Yeah.
And another teacher kept that list of all the different ways that people manipulate each other. So just for her own awareness, I mean, these are skills that we can use at any age.
Oh my goodness.
So.
Well, in closing today, I mean, I'm not closing yet. We still have 5 minutes left. What else did you want to make sure we talk, to our children about? Because I feel like, things have changed over the years, right? And as a counselor, how are things changed? I mean, right now I have a friend who's a counselor at a school. She's dealing with bullying, social media. I mean, all these things didn't exist when you were in the schoolroom back then, right? I mean, bullying always did. But this whole thing of social media has an impact on so many people. Are you aware of what's happening with that? Do you see a lot of our youth now suffering from what's happening? Have you read about it in the papers?
Of course. Yeah. Social media, cyberbullying.
That's the word, cyberbullying. Yes. It was regular bullying. Now it's cyberbullying, that plus.
Exactly. Yes. And there are too many victims of that who are just not able to handle it, and they commit suicide. Now, I will just give a personal situation. When I was 48, I adopted my daughter who was 7, and she had been abused and neglected and came from a very difficult, dysfunctional family. But I had told her that she could always talk to me about anything. And now I'm so proud of the way she's parenting her kids, because they are talking to her about, and then she'll share with me some of the things they're talking about. It's like, wow, that's great that they're telling these very personal things to her. And then she'll give some guidance.
Yeah.
She picked up along the way some good counseling skills.
Oh, my gosh.
So she's breaking that cycle of abuse and so forth. And I'm just so proud of her.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's wonderful. How old is your daughter now?
Now she's 34. She has 4 children.
You're
baby, 8-month-old baby, and a 6-year-old who's somewhat autistic from her second husband, and then a 14 and 16-year-old who are from her first marriage.
Oh, does she live near you?
She lives about 4 hours from me.
Oh, do you get to see the grandkids often? I mean, what joy.
Often enough. I really want to hold the baby, and I hope to see her pretty soon. So.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I mean, life is so precious, right? Life goes so quick, and God bless you being a grandma. I didn't know that. What other surprises do you have for me today, Katta? Come on.
Well, I'm just so excited, and it's kind of like when you get to be 75, it's kind of like, okay, I know so much, and I want to share it with everybody before I go, and so then I have all these book ideas that I want to write, but I love to write. But if you have a book, there's so many books out there, you have to do the marketing. And that is not my strength.
That's the hard part. Well, that's where you get your daughter involved, and you get the grandchildren involved, right? They can help you. So are you actually working on something now in particular? Are you going to write more? I mean, fill us in.
Well, I mentioned last time the book, Creating Conscious Connections, which is reach in, connect with yourself, reach out, connect with others, reach up and connect with the divine. And a lot of that are some skills. Some of them would be something similar to what I wrote for the school curriculum.
Beautiful.
And added to that the transpersonal part as well.
Well, we wish you the best of luck continuing that. And again, want to remind everyone to reach out to you. And that's Katta, katta.mapes@gmail.com. Write podcast in the subject line. Reach out. And of course, she'll give you more information, and you can contact her on how to get a copy of the book, Stop, Think, Choose, Building Emotional Intelligence in Young People. And thank you so much for being here. It's excited to have our counselor, our intuitive life coach and teacher, writer joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure seeing you. You're such a happy soul. And I can't believe you're a grandparent. That's amazing. You have a fantastic day. To all of our listeners, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.